You know how some people find out their marriage is falling apart through long, painful conversations? I found out mine was an illusion through a celebration. It was our 8th wedding anniversary. A Tuesday. Emily always said anniversaries on weekdays made her feel low-key lucky. Like love could sneak into the work week and tap you on the shoulder between emails and lunch meetings. She said it made things feel real, authentic, intimate. So I pulled every string I could. Took the day off. Booked a surprise dinner at the place where we first got caught in the rain, the old waterfront place with too few napkins and overpriced salmon. Got her flowers. Peonies, her favorite. Pink, not white. She used to say white felt like funeral arrangements pretending to be romantic. I even dusted off the old wedding album. You ever look at a photo and feel like you're staring at a crime scene, except the victim is the version of yourself who still believed everything was fine? Anyway, I was standing there in our kitchen, flowers in hand, waiting for Emily to get home. She was late, but not alarmingly so. Just late enough for my gut to start whispering things I wasn't ready to hear. When she finally walked through the door, her smile was manufactured. Not fake, exactly. Just like it came with instructions. "Hey, you," she said, not even looking at the flowers. "Happy anniversary," I said, offering them. She blinked like she'd forgotten. "Oh, well, you remembered." "I do every year," I said with a half-smile. She forced a chuckle. "Right. Of course you do. I'll spare you the rest of the small talk." The dinner happened. The salmon was still overpriced. The waiter still forgot our water twice. But Emily? She wasn't really there. Not in the way she used to be. Her body sat across from me, but her mind? It was somewhere else. Somewhere far. Somewhere crowded, judging by the way she kept checking her phone like it owed her an apology. After dessert, she excused herself to the restroom. I took the moment to glance at her phone, left behind on the table like a careless confession. New message. Name, C. Text preview. Can't stop thinking about last night. You still smell like me. The world didn't end. Not then. Not even close. But something cracked. Something important. And I sat there with the check, the flowers now wilting beside me, wondering how long I'd been celebrating a marriage that had already been buried. I didn't confront her that night. No dramatic wine glass shattering. No yelling across candlelight. I played it cool, because sometimes the smartest move is the one you don't make yet. On the way home, she hummed quietly to herself. Some indie folk song from one of her Peaceful Vibes playlists. The same one she used to play during Sunday morning pancakes when we were still real. Me? I was silent. Not because I was angry. That would come later. No, I was cataloging. Every move. Every word. Every moment she touched her phone like it was a lifeline. C. Huh? I didn't know who C was, but I knew what C meant. C meant secrets. C meant every moment she looked tired from work, she was actually energized by someone else's attention. C meant the woman I thought I knew was now a carefully curated echo of who she used to be. Back home, she kissed me goodnight like you'd pet a dog you used to love but now mostly tolerated. I watched her walk into the bedroom and shut the door behind her. Then I sat on the couch, turned off all the lights, and let the darkness wrap around me like an old blanket. I opened my laptop, pulled up our phone records, searched for patterns. Found them. One number. Same area code. Same last 4 digits repeating like a drumbeat. Calls during lunch breaks. Just after gym sessions. 10-minute phone calls that stretched into 40. Always deleted from her phone history. But not from the bill. A little digging. A few reverse lookup tools later, I got a name. Colin. A name like a dull blade. Soft. Suburban. The kind of name you picture on a reusable coffee mug in a Tesla. I didn't know what he looked like. Yet. But the name gave me something she didn't. Honesty. And so, I started a new project. No, not a confrontation. Not yet. That would be easy. Satisfying, sure. But premature. You don't fire your only bullet without knowing where to aim. Instead, I started watching, tracking, and collecting every lie she fed me like I was starving for betrayal. I wasn't going to burn down the house. I was going to renovate it, brick by brick, in silence, until she came home one day and realized the front door no longer opened for her. It was a Thursday. She said she had a team-building dinner with her department. That phrase always sounded like corporate code for cocktails and bad decisions. I nodded, smiled, even helped pick her outfit. A navy blue dress she hadn't worn in over a year. The one with the open back and the subtle slit on the side. "You look amazing," I said. She gave me a peck on the cheek and replied, "Don't wait up." Right. Because this wasn't the kind of dinner that ended before midnight. What she didn't know, what she could never have known, was that I'd already hired someone. No, not some sleazy guy in a trench coat. This was a friend. Jeremy. A guy from my college days who now did freelance private security work. Surveillance, intel gathering. The works. He owed me a favor from back when we were both broke and reckless. I cashed it in. Keep it simple, I told him. I don't need scandal. I just need the truth. What he brought me wasn't just truth. It was a full-blown documentary. There she was, in high definition, sitting on the patio of a rooftop bar downtown, not with her team, but with Colin. Tall, clean-cut. One of those guys with a watch that says, I care about time, but only my time. He leaned in when she talked, laughed like she was the most fascinating woman in the world. And she? She lit up, like she used to light up for me. The worst part wasn't the kiss, or the way she touched his hand when she laughed. No, the worst part was how easy it looked. Natural. Like this wasn't their first time. Like this was routine. Jeremy handed me the footage without a word. Didn't even charge me. Just gave me a pat on the shoulder and said, I'm sorry, man. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I watched. Twice. Then I closed the laptop. And I sat there in silence with one very clear thought. She's not in love with him. She's just done being in love with me. That realization didn't break me. It focused me. You see, that was the moment everything changed, not because she betrayed me, but because she thought I'd never be smart enough to notice. I didn't confront her that night. That's the part that surprises people when I tell the story. They expect fire, a slammed door, a screaming match at 1 a.m. over Chardonnay and lies. But me? I made us breakfast the next morning. French toast. Her favorite. She came downstairs with that same manufactured smile, the one I'd studied like a scientist dissects a specimen. I poured her coffee, slid a plate in front of her, and said, How is the team building? She blinked. For half a second, I swear she looked nervous. But then she leaned into the performance. Long night. We played trivia and did a blindfolded trust exercise. It was silly. I nodded and took a bite of toast. Sounds fun. Oh, it was, she said. Tiring, though. Tiring, sure. It must take a lot of energy to lie that smoothly. I watched her eat. Carefully. Like someone handling antique glassware. And I wondered how long she thought she could juggle two lies without dropping one. That day, I started laying bricks. Not literal ones. The metaphorical kind. The kind that build walls between truth and vengeance. You see, I knew she was cheating now. But that didn't mean she knew I knew. And in that space, in that little gap of unawareness, I found power. So I played along. I let her plan her little girls' weekends and networking retreats. I watched her get bolder, more careless. She started wearing perfume she hadn't touched in years. Changed her passwords. Switched her phone case. She didn't just cheat on me. She transitioned out of our life. Like a quiet, polite exit from a party where she never said goodbye. But I wasn't idle. I spent nights going through our finances. Every joint account, every credit card, every charge. I cataloged things she thought I'd never notice, like the $78 spent at a boutique hotel downtown, or the Uber receipts that always ended 2 blocks from Colin's address. I cross-referenced every dinner with our calendar, labeled the red flags with timestamps. Some guys throw tantrums when they get betrayed. I built a spreadsheet. And while I built that digital case file, I also started rewriting my own story. Quietly. Calculated. I opened a new bank account. Redirected my paycheck. Changed the beneficiaries on my life insurance policy. I removed her name from everything, bit by bit, like a surgeon cutting out a tumor without waking the patient. Funny thing is, she never noticed. Not once. Because cheaters always assume the faithful are fools. Then I started learning about Colin. Turns out, he's not just some charming gym rat. He's an ambitious mid-level real estate guy with just enough success to be dangerous. You know the type. LinkedIn bio full of buzzwords like synergy and growth mindset. Probably says things like, let's circle back, an actual conversation. He wasn't just a fling. He was a campaign. Emily was transitioning again, not just out of the marriage, but into her next upgrade. She was trading in the stable husband with good credit for a guy who wears loafers without socks and probably calls his mom Linda. But what she didn't realize, what she never planned for, was that I wasn't going to be the polite ex with tears in his eyes and a suitcase in his hand. I was going to be the storm she didn't see coming. The turning point came on a random Wednesday. She left her work laptop open on the couch. Normally, I wouldn't have touched it. But she was upstairs showering, and curiosity's a hell of a drug. There it was. Her email. Subject line, weekend escape kiss mark. From Colin. The message was short, lazy even. Same place as last time. Can't wait to see you. Don't forget to bring that black dress. And maybe don't tell the husband this time, winking face dot. My chest didn't tighten. My throat didn't close. I smiled. Because now I had everything I needed. I screenshotted the email, sent it to myself, printed it, put it in a folder along with copies of hotel receipts, photos Jeremy had taken, and a clean copy of our prenup, which, bless her overconfidence, she signed years ago without even reading. Turns out, infidelity voids her claim on most of our assets. Oops. The last thing I did that night? I called my lawyer. Start drafting everything, I said. Everything. Yep. Divorce papers. Asset freezes. Custody arrangements for the dog. The works. Logan, he said carefully, are you sure you don't want to try? Jeff, I interrupted, I'm not trying anything except winning. We met in person the next morning. And by that weekend? Well, let's just say the escape she was planning didn't exactly go the way she imagined. She thought she was checking into a hotel for a weekend of laughter, lies, and pillow talk with a guy who wore loafers with no socks. What she didn't know was, so was I. It was a boutique spot 2 cities over. One of those trendy little places with elevated room service and curated lighting, like dimmer switches and overpriced olives were a personality. I'd found the name weeks earlier from her email, right between Colin's emoji-heavy flirtations and his half-baked business expansion pitch for his 2-man real estate empire. I booked my room 2 floors above theirs, reserved under a different name, paid in cash. It was important I stayed off the radar, not because I was hiding, but because the element of surprise is a luxury too few people appreciate anymore. She had no idea I'd be checking in shortly after her. I watched from the lobby bar as she walked in with him. They didn't even try to be discreet. Her hand on his back, his overnight bag slung over his shoulder. She looked lighter. Not guilty. Just untethered. That's what hurt the most. Not the betrayal. Not the lies. The ease. The way she carried herself like nothing mattered anymore. Like I was already filed away with old tax returns and mismatched socks. Colin approached the front desk and flirted with the receptionist. Emily laughed. Her fake laugh. The one she used when she wanted something. I used to think it was charming. Now it sounded like aluminum foil in a blender. I waited 15 minutes, then headed to my room. My phone buzzed. A message from Jeremy. They're settled in. Doors bugged. Audio clean. No cameras, just like you said. Good man. I didn't want video. That would have been something else. I wasn't here for blackmail. I was here for clarity. For closure. For the cold, hard evidence that she wasn't lost. She was gone. I spent the next few hours listening through wireless earbuds while I sipped bourbon and annotated timestamps on a yellow legal pad. At one point, Colin told a joke that was so painfully unfunny, I actually groaned out loud. She laughed anyway. That's hilarious, she said. It wasn't. But then again, her standards clearly plummeted right after she stopped respecting herself. When she eventually fell asleep, her breathing steady, rhythmic, I listened to Colin whisper something smug about how she was so different from her boring husband. He had no idea I was 2 floors up, sipping 18-year scotch and planning his professional funeral. See, I'd done a little digging into Colin. Turns out his brokerage license? Expired. His last 3 real estate deals? Riddled with quietly buried complaints. And his fancy downtown condo? Leased in his ex-girlfriend's name. Oh, and he was still legally married. Surprise. I made a few calls to some old friends in the state board. I didn't have to lie. Just asked questions. Left breadcrumbs. And when people followed them, they didn't like what they found. Colin would learn, in time, that my silence had teeth. But I wasn't done. The next morning, I packed up and left the hotel early. Didn't even take the complimentary coffee. I went home and laid everything out. Literally. Printed photos, emails, transaction logs, her calendar entries, and the prenup, highlighted like a college kid cramming for finals. Then I made 2 copies of everything. One for my lawyer. One for Emily. The final piece? A letter. Not emotional. Not angry. Just direct. Honest. Brutal in its clarity. Emily. I know. And I've known for weeks. This folder contains the evidence. You'll recognize the man in the photos. You'll recognize the hotel. You'll recognize the lies. What you won't recognize anymore is me. Because I'm not the man who believed in you. I'm not the husband who made excuses for your absences, or the fool who thought this could still be saved. I'm the man who's walking away with everything you took for granted. You see, while you were playing house with a man who calls himself a visionary, I was talking to our lawyer, finalizing the papers. You'll find them at the back of this folder, along with a termination of joint accounts, removal of your name from the deed, and a request that you vacate the house within 14 days. This isn't revenge. It's renovation. You burned this house down, Emily. I just swept up the ashes. Good luck with Colin. I hear he's very good at talking. I put the folder in a thick envelope, sealed it, and left it on her dresser. That evening, she came home. Same heels. Same perfume. Different energy. She walked in like she was doing me a favor just by showing up. Hey, she said, setting her purse down. I'm exhausted. I bet. She looked at me, confused. I nodded toward the stairs. There's something waiting for you upstairs. She hesitated. What is it? Truth, I said simply. In writing. She stood there for a moment, her expression twisting. Confusion, concern, maybe a flicker of fear. Then she walked up the stairs. I stayed downstairs. I didn't follow. Didn't need to. 10 minutes later, I heard the gasp. The paper shuffle. The silence. Then the footsteps, fast, but hesitant. Logan, she said, her voice cracking. Can we talk about this? I looked at her, not the way I used to. Not with love. Not even with hate. Just peace. I think everything that needed to be said is already in writing, Em. She reached out. This doesn't have to end like this. I shook my head. Oh, it ended a long time ago. You just weren't paying attention. The next few days were quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. No, this was the kind of silence that follows after a wrecking ball hits a cathedral. Everything still stands, sort of, but it doesn't feel holy anymore. Emily moved through the house like a ghost. No more, hey babe, greetings. No more late-night fake yawns to cover up where she'd been. She didn't even bother making excuses now. What was the point? I already had the receipts, literal and metaphorical. She tried being nice at first. Polite smiles. Do you want coffee? Want me to pick up dinner? Each offer was laced with that desperate optimism people have when they think being civil might reverse an earthquake. I didn't play into it. Because once you've watched someone set your house on fire, you don't ask them to light the candles. She didn't sleep in our bedroom after that night. Took the guest room down the hall. The one we used to joke about turning into a nursery one day. Funny, in a cosmic kind of way. That room still had the faint smell of old paint and maybe someday. No? It just smelled like regret and over-applied lavender lotion. One night, I caught her standing in the doorway of our room. Just staring. She didn't say a word. I didn't either. She stood there for a solid 30 seconds, then turned around and padded back down the hallway. She was trying to figure out when she lost control. That's the thing about people like Emily. They're not devastated by the consequences. They're devastated by the lack of influence over those consequences. See, when she cheated, she didn't just betray me, she rebranded herself. She went from wife to actress. A woman trying to hold a crumbling marriage together with dimples and distractions while her real life, her new life, was happening somewhere else with someone else. She thought she'd have the best of both. But now? Now she was just a tenant in a house she used to own emotionally. And every ticking clock, every quiet meal, every polite good night reminded her that she wasn't the lead in this story anymore. One afternoon, I came home to find her sitting on the back patio. No makeup, hoodie, hair in a messy bun that looked more forgotten than fashionable. Her phone was face down. That was new. She looked up at me like she was about to say something meaningful. I could see the gears turning, preparing for vulnerability, calculating just how much remorse to serve without overcooking it. Logan, she said, her voice low. Can I ask you something? I didn't answer. Just raised an eyebrow. She hesitated. Then, was there really nothing left to save? I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. You didn't just leave me, Em. You replaced me. You skipped the funeral and brought a date to the wake. She flinched, just slightly. It wasn't supposed to get serious. That line right there, that was the tell. Not, I didn't mean to hurt you. Not, I made a mistake. But it wasn't supposed to get serious. Translation, I wanted more than what I had, but I didn't want to pay the price. I nodded slowly. Well, it did. And now it's serious. And you're just now realizing what that means. She looked away. I thought maybe we could. I stopped her with one quiet word. Don't. She didn't speak again. And that was the last conversation we had for a while. The following week, she moved out. It wasn't dramatic. No yelling. No suitcase tossing. She didn't even cry. She packed in silence, folded her life into boxes like it was laundry. Every shirt, every framed photo, every knick-knack we bought on weekend trips, it all vanished, piece by piece. She left her keys on the counter and walked out without a word. Just one last glance at the living room before the door clicked shut behind her. That was it. 14 years together, 8 of them married, undone in the time it takes to microwave a frozen dinner. I stood in the middle of the house for a long time after that. Everything looked the same, but it felt different, like she'd taken the temperature with her. I should have felt something, grief, rage, relief, but I didn't. I just felt still, because the storm had passed, and I was still standing. A few days later, Colin reached out. Yeah, he reached out. He sent some self-righteous message through one of those LinkedIn DMs like we were frat brothers in a disagreement over beer pong. Hey man, I just wanted to say I didn't mean for any of this to get messy. Emily deserves to be happy. Hope you can find peace with all this. I didn't reply. I didn't need to. I'd already sent screenshots of his expired brokerage license, forged signatures, and a few shady side deals to the licensing board. Last I heard, he lost his business, his lease, and most importantly, his reputation. You know the old saying, right? Never steal from a man who's already lost everything. He's got nothing left to lose, and time on his hands. It's been 3 months since Emily moved out. The house is cleaner now. Lighter. There's more music. Less second-guessing. I sleep through the night. Some nights, I even laugh. Not because I've forgotten, but because I survived. And in the silence, I've built something better than revenge. I built peace. I didn't hear from Emily for a while. Not in this she moved on kind of way. More like the realized the grass was astroturf kind of way. Turns out, Colin wasn't quite the knight in khaki she imagined. Once her little secret turned into a full-time relationship, he lost interest faster than a New Year's resolution. Love built on betrayal tends to rot from the foundation up. 3 weeks after she moved out, she sent me a message. Can we talk? I stared at it for a while. Didn't reply. 3 days later, another. I missed the way we were. I didn't know how good I had it. Still, nothing from me. And then came the Hail Mary. I made a mistake. I finally responded. Just 3 words. Yes, you did. That was it. No invitation. No pity. No closure speech. She had turned our marriage into a campfire story and now wanted me to light the lantern again. Not happening. You'd think she'd take the hint. But guilt is clingy when the spotlight fades. I came home one night to find her parked outside the house. She stepped out of her car, eyes red, hair a mess, makeup halfway between applied and abandoned. Logan, she said. I didn't say a word. Just leaned against the doorframe. I know you hate me, she started. But you have to understand, I was lost. I didn't feel seen. Colin, he was exciting. I thought he'd give me something you couldn't. I nodded slowly. And what did he give you? She hesitated. Anxiety. Regret. A lot of silence. I gave you loyalty, I said. And a life you didn't have to lie about. She started crying. I didn't flinch. Do you still love me? She asked quietly. I looked her dead in the eye. I don't even know you. After that night, Emily stopped showing up. For a while, anyway. Eventually, her name popped up again, but this time in community whispers. Mutual friends saying she moved into a tiny rental outside town. Back in sales, scraping by. Colin was long gone. Apparently, he needed space. Of course he did. Men like Colin always do once the fantasy gets complicated. I didn't gloat. I didn't celebrate. I just lived. Got back into cycling. Took a trip solo to Colorado. First vacation in years where I wasn't worried about who was texting my wife. I even started dating again. Slowly. Carefully. I wasn't angry at women. I was just aware now, aware of what not to ignore. Funny thing, peace doesn't shout. It just settles in, like a friend you didn't know you needed sitting beside you, saying, you made it. You're okay now. I ran into Emily exactly 1 year to the day after she left. Grocery store. Of all places. She looked smaller. Not physically, just dimmer, like a candle left burning too long. Logan, she said, surprised. Wow. Hey. I replied calmly, tossing a carton of eggs into my basket. You look good. I nodded. Thanks. You seeing anyone? I smiled, not answering. She looked down. I just wanted to say, I know you probably don't care anymore, but I really am sorry. And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. Not because she said it, but because she looked like a woman who finally understood the cost of setting fire to something she couldn't rebuild. I didn't rub it in. I didn't scold. I just said, "I hope you find peace, Emily." And then I walked away. Because the cruelest revenge isn't destruction. It's indifference. It's living well when they expected you to crumble. It's surviving them and never once looking back.